When we think about the first drink in human history, most people imagine water, maybe tea or milk, something simple and basic. But what if I told you that one of humanity's earliest beverages wasn't just used for hydration, but helped shape the way we lived, worked, worshipped, and even farmed? Beer, in its earliest, most primitive form, likely predates most written history and may have risen from an accidental but transformational discovery. From thick, porridge-like fermentations discovered in prehistoric sites to the structured breweries of ancient cities, beer holds a surprisingly central place in the human story. Today we're going to explore how beer became humanity's first major drink. Not just a casual indulgence, but something that mattered deeply to the rise of civilizations. Let's dive in, right here, on History of Simple Things. Long before there were recipes, breweries, or even written language, our ancestors were experimenting with the foods and plants around them. As early as 13,000 years ago, hunter-gatherers in the eastern Mediterranean were placing grain into stone mortars to pound it, not to drink but to make food, and leaving those mixtures exposed to the air. Naturally occurring yeasts in the environment would have caused the sugars in the grains to ferment, producing alcohol as a byproduct. Archaeologists have found residue from such early fermentations in places like Rakafet Cave near present-day Haifa, Israel, where Natufian people appear to have made beer-like beverages for ritual feasts or ceremonies. This wasn't just a happy accident. It was a moment that hinted at the powerful effects of fermentation, both culturally and chemically. Some of the most influential theories in archaeology suggest that beer may have played a role in the shift from wandering bands of hunter-gatherers to settled farming communities. As groups discovered that fermenting grains produced a pleasant, and at the time safe-to-drink product, they began to value grains not just as food, but as a source of drinkable calories and sociable enjoyment. Because producing even the simplest beer required a reliable supply of grains, people started planting and tending crops more consistently instead of relying solely on foraging. Evidence from China and the Near East shows people brewing grain beverages around the same time they were beginning to domesticate plants, underlining how intertwined brewing and agriculture likely were. In a sense, the desire for a fermented drink may have helped push humankind toward more predictable, settled ways of life. To modern drinkers, beer is often seen as a leisure beverage, something you enjoy with friends or to relax after a long day. But for ancient peoples, beer had very real nutritional and practical benefits that went beyond taste. Fermentation alters the properties of grains, breaking down compounds that make nutrients in them easier to access. This made beer a valuable source of calories and vitamins, especially in societies where other sources of nutrition were limited or seasonal. It also had a crucial practical advantage. Alcohol can help kill harmful microbes. In eras when clean water was not always guaranteed, a weak beer might have been safer to drink than water drawn from a river or pond. This nutritional and hygienic value likely contributed to beer's widespread adoption long before other beverages like wine or distilled spirits. Before beer was a commodity or part of everyday meals, it was a powerful ritual drink, deeply tied to human belief systems and social practices. Instead of merely quenching thirst, beer often played a part in ceremonies, especially those connected to death and community cohesion. At burial sites in ancient China dated to around 9,000 years ago, pottery vessels containing residue from fermented grain drinks were found alongside human remains, suggesting beer played a role in funerary rites. Whether used to honor the dead, celebrate seasonal harvests, or strengthen social bonds, these early beverages were more than simple sustenance. They were imbued with symbolic meaning. They helped people navigate life's most profound moments and may have been a glue that bound communities together. As human communities became more complex and large-scale societies emerged, beer did not fade. It became central to economic, cultural, and religious life in many early civilizations. In Mesopotamia, often called the cradle of civilization, beer was so important that workers were sometimes paid with daily rations of it, and Sumerian texts include hymns to a goddess of brewing named Ninkasi, which also function as beer recipes. In ancient Egypt, beer was considered a staple foodstuff and even used as a form of labor compensation. From the banks of the Nile to the Fertile Crescent, beer was embedded in the rhythms of daily life and state organization. This expansion of beer, from casual gatherings to formal institutions, shows just how deeply it was woven into human history. By the time written history began, beer was already ancient, but its influence only continued to grow. Its production and consumption helped shape economics, technology, and social life throughout the ancient world and into the Middle Ages. Techniques for brewing evolved, straws were invented to sip unfiltered brews, and beer became intertwined with festival days, religious observances, and social exchange. Though it's easy to see beer today as a choice for relaxation or recreation, in the grand sweep of human history, its role was far more foundational. It helped lay the social and technological groundwork for agriculture, fostered community ties, provided important nutrition, and became a building block in the earliest great civilizations. Asking why beer became humanity's first major drink is really asking why people learned to turn simple plants into something meaningful. What began as an accident became a deliberate practice tied to survival, community, and ingenuity. In that way, beer's history is closely tied to humanity's own. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.